Welcome to Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow, a new minicast brought to you by SME. I'm your host, Toni Neary, Director of Community Engagement and Workforce Innovation. In this minicast, we're going to dive deep into workforce development, exploring challenges, opportunities, and solutions that are shaping the future of manufacturing. Each month, I'll bring you insightful interviews with key industry leaders, sharing success stories, highlighting significant events, and providing valuable resources to help you stay ahead of the curve. Whether you're a seasoned manufacturing professional or just starting your journey, Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow is your go-to source for the latest news and trends in workforce development. So join me every month as we work together to build a stronger, more resilient manufacturing workforce. Let's get started.
So welcome to Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow. I have a force to be reckoned with us this morning. I first met Linda when she was speaking at a WDI conference in beautiful Palm Springs, California. And Linda is amazing. She serves as the Senior Associate Vice Chancellor for Lone Star College's Office of External and Employer Relations. But I don't think that title says it all because Linda is innovative. She is groundbreaking. She is brilliant. And I'm a card-carrying member of the Linda Head Fan Club. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning. Now I'm embarrassed, but thank you.
June
I have a new title this year, and it is Strategic Partnerships. It's just not on the Lone Star College website yet, I guess.
Perfect. Well, and I wanted to talk today because I remember sitting in the audience, and I don't know if you remember, I raised my hand, but I had 1,000,005 questions for you, and I was like, I want to talk to you. Do you have an article written on this? I want to talk about the NOV, formerly National Oilwell Varco program, to really address their aging workforce, but also diversity, equity, and inclusion within their region. So can you tell me a little bit about the precipice? Like, why did you have this conversation with them when you were talking about their workforce?
You know, community colleges have to have advisory councils for their workforce programs as prescribed by your state, typically, and a higher education commission. And we do. But we also have very robust, higher level strategic advisory councils. And NOV and their leadership have been part of ours for energy and manufacturing for about 16 years. In 2020, their CEO and presidents were stuck at home in Houston, and they were actually attending in person, well, not in person, probably Zoom, their nonprofit boards that they also belong to, and they said, we want to give back to this community, and there are people that aren't going to college, and there are people that aren't getting great jobs, and how can NOV help the community? And we have these great friends at Lone Star College that can educate and train people, and we have jobs that are going unfilled because people are retiring. So they said, call the college. I got a phone call, and let's figure this out. That's how it all started, from the CEO. And we started problem solving, and we kind of went into the Zoom basement and started problem solving and thinking through how can we solve this problem. And we took about 2 weeks, and laid out a plan that we started implementing in fall of 21. And it's been very successful, and we're really excited about it.
So tell me a little bit about where you found the students and what NOV invested, not just time-wise, but financially, in order to make this accessible for individuals.
Well, we at Lone Star College, Houston's a big place. The Greater Houston MSA is about 6 million people. Lone Star covers about 2.5 million. We have 11 school districts. One of the lowest income school districts is Aldine ISD, and they are a great partner also. And Aldine has many CTE programs where we have dual credit with them, 14, 15, 16, something like that. And so we recommended we start with Aldine as our third partner in this partnership. They wanted to start with machining. So we said, all right, we'll go to machining. And they also, though, wanted mechanical engineers. So kind of a funny thing, right? So we have machining, machinists on one side, very technical, hands-on, short-term, 1-year certificate and 2-year degree, Associate Applied Science, but also a 4 or 5-year degree in mechanical engineering. Sat down and thought, well, let's start with the low-hanging fruit, machinists, and that's who was leaving first, were the machinists. So we went to these kids in high school and said, we need 10 of you to fill a class that are interested in, you already took manual machining in high school, you already have some college credit for 1 semester of college credit. This great big company that's in 30 countries wants to pay for you to go work full-time in the summer at one of their locations in Houston. They had bought about 80 small machine shops in Houston. They want to pay for you to work full-time if you will go to school for another year and finish the 2-year degree to be a machinist. They will give you a job while you go to college. They will pay for you to go to college. They will buy your work shirt. They will buy your books, and then they will promote you up to a machinist when you finish school. And they all looked at us wide-eyed and go, oh, really? And so they go, well, who's NOV? And we're like, oh, well, blah, 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 we don't know who NOV is, and that's a really big company. So the company said, well, we'll come meet the students. So these guys come, they're really, really nice. They show these videos of all their locations around the world. They show the stuff they make on deep sea drilling ships. It's really awesome. Anything on a deck up on a ship is made by NOV. They make really big stuff. They make top drives that pull pipe up and down, thousands of feet down into the ocean floor. We're all proud of ourselves, pumping our chest, bragging about NOV, and the kids are still like, oh, that's a really big company. I don't know if I can work there. My parents work down the street at a little company, or they work at Costco, or they, my mother's a housekeeper, or, ooh, I don't know that I can do that. That's really scary. So we went back and had to huddle again with NOV and go, okay, we brought some counselors with us from the high school and our own workforce advisors, and said, they're not excited about this. Like, what are we going to do? So we said, they're first gen to college, probably. All of them, probably. So the counselor said, yes, all of them. We need to make this smaller. Here we're trying to get them excited about going to work at a big company. They don't want that. They need to know it's a small company and that they're going to be taken care of. So the company assigned a mentor to. The company said they need transportation. They were worried about how they're going to get there. 2 of them already had children of their own, so they needed daycare. We found that they had other things that they were worried about also, not just the fact that it's a really big company. So the high school decided to bus these kids to work every day that first summer. We had to help them with their daycare, and we got the mentors at the company, and we got them this awesome mentor at the college, Cruz Casiano. She's a fabulous mentor, and that whole village helped get them excited and got them registered for their fall classes, and they got the job. And fast forward, that first cohort finished. They all went to school. They all worked. The one female student actually then went on and went to the applied bachelor program for energy manufacturing leadership, and NOV paid for that as well. And she then got 2 bumps up in her position at NOV and stayed with NOV. And we got to celebrate their success. We did find some other problems along the way that we had to figure out with NOV. They were such good employees that the plant managers gave them overtime, which caused their grades to slip a little bit. They all weren't straight A students because they took overtime at work. So we had to get contracts signed that they couldn't work overtime except under certain situations, but it worked out really well.
So rising high school seniors, their senior year was spent at Lone Star College taking classes. They continued on, and all of them first gen college graduates now, right? They've got their
Yes.
degrees. They're all still employed at NOV, and it's all because you said, okay, there's going to be bumps along the road and we're going to figure it out. And I think that is a testament to your leadership as well as the partnerships that you've developed in your region. So now let's talk about, we've got these 10 students. Now is the program continuing with another cohort of students?
Yeah, and then we had to work on the mechanical engineers.
Right.
So that was a whole nother story because we had to find those kids that are in math and science. And we thought, well, that'll be easy. We all have early college high schools. And we thought we would have kids that were in pre-cal and physics, dual credit, that'd be interested in coming to Lone Star. And we had the same kinds of hurdles identifying those kids that would then want to come to Lone Star, go to NOV, and then we also had to find a partnership with a four-year college so that they could then go to a four-year college in Houston because we didn't want them to go out of town. We didn't want to lose them. We want them to stay right here in Houston, be engineers in Houston at NOV here. And it took, again, building partnerships. We have about 3 colleges that we were considering and found one that we decided was the best. And those kids are still at Lone Star College finishing this summer math, because the math, you know, those kids that are better at higher level math, their parents, we have to talk to them too, have in their heads that they're going to go off someplace else. And you know, because of your organization, that sometimes parents have in their head what's best for their children, and it might not always be what the kid wants. So I've probably done that to my own kids, and I probably still do, even though they're in their 30s. And my kids will have to say, Mom, I'm done talking now. Let's talk about something else. So they do the same thing when these kids are 17 and the kid wants to stay home because they can have a job while they're going to college. It's in their career field. And it's not just an internship in the summer. They're getting a job that's an internship throughout their 4 years of college, and which is incredible. It's a modern day internship in engineering that they are practicing their field of study throughout the 4 years. So by the time they become an engineer, they know what an engineer does, and they're getting 4 years of it, not like I did, where it was only in the summers. And it's really proving to be a fantastic program as well.
And I think the power here is it's more than NOV doing a tuition reimbursement policy. This is, you know, covering the cost of college, working with the school district to get transportation, working with you for childcare. Because when we look at the biggest barriers at entry for traditionally underserved populations, it's transportation, childcare, mental health issues. And a lot of those have not been addressed. So looking at really holistically treating this community, and like, what a success story for these individuals to go back and say, this is something that I did and you can do it as well. So I'd have to imagine like word is spreading like wildfire with other people wanting to get on board now with this program.
Mm-hmm. And it is interesting. I am seeing that other colleges and universities are finding the same thing. It's not just in community colleges. Four-year universities are seeing different kinds of students coming to them. As we make more financial aid available to the community to come to college, and they are seeing first-generation students, the first-generation student is different today. The parent that's working that doesn't have time to help the kid. I sometimes wonder how much I helped my own children with their schooling. I don't know how much I really helped them when they were in college with all their decisions, but they came from a family with 2 parents that went to college, and their part-time job money went to their clothing and their jewelry and their fun stuff. It didn't go to help pay for their food I paid for their food. I paid for their dorm. I paid for their food pass. We're talking about college students that are using their job money to pay for their living. It's different. And so they have other kinds of pressures. And they might even have, what we haven't talked about, is having parents at home or siblings at home that might have an illness. So their money might also be going to help care for other family members. And so you're right. The psychological issues and that kind of counseling and having other kinds of nonprofits also in the picture to help with those kinds of conversations that colleges aren't used to having.
And I think it was an eye-opener for me. I was working with a public school system in an urban area, and they told the story of a mother who came in and said, I love that you've gotten this job for my son, but he's making too much money. I'm losing my childcare because my son is making too much money. He needs to make less. And that's just a consideration. Like, I'm a first generation high school grad. So, both my parents were high school dropouts. And, for me, it's so important that I can invest in an education that's valuable for our children. And we're making the choice to do private school, but we don't look at other areas where there are no options. And what I love is that those educators went and met with the company and said, this is what we have to do. And instead of the company saying, awesome, we're going to pay him $4 less an hour, they said, we're going to open up a 401k and we're going to drop 50% of his money into his 401k plan. So this kid is saving without knowing it. It's pre-tax. It's not going to affect. So for me, it's the companies that need to get innovative and say, we don't understand this. Can you teach us? And those community-based organizations are priceless when you look at, the benefits cliff and some of the issues that we're running into.
NOV, I can't say enough about the company and them doing exactly that. We met every other week for an hour or more if we needed it, because they wanted this to work. They knew that they needed to understand the people they were hiring because it was different than who they were hiring before. And a lot of times in oil and gas, people were coming out of the military or they were coming off a farm. And they were, going into the oil field or going into a manufacturing plant right out of high school. And they just had a different set of skills and came from a different kind of family. And most of the people that worked there were referrals. They were cousins and uncles and neighbors, and they all knew each other. It's just not that way anymore. And so NOV wanted to understand our students and wanted to make this work. But on the other hand, NOV is a multinational company. So they had to protect their company too. So they wanted to be sure that, they're not a high school. They had to be sure these kids knew you are an employee of a big company. So there are things that you have to do. So they also came up with like a mini contract that the kid had to sign. Once they became an employee of NOV, they made them sign something so that the student understood, you're a student at Lone Star College, but you're also an employee of this big company. So you do understand, you have to show up to work on time. You have to, things that we might have known that employers say all the time, the soft skills, the employability skills, whatever you want to call them. You have to come to work on time. You can't be on your cell phone. Yes, you get sick time, but we really expect you to, it's not vacation time. We expect you to take your sick time when you're sick. I don't know. Things like that they had to tell these kids. We expect you to work when you're at work. We expect you to come to work. And we do have to be careful with overtime. And we want you to get good grades. We want you to be successful in college. We want you to finish all the training that you're getting in the community college and the knowledge part of community college. That's why you're there, and that's why we're paying for it. If you drop out of the college, you don't have this job anymore. So they had to make sure the student knew that too. If you fail at Lone Star, this is part of the whole program. It's a program, right? You don't get the job.
And I think it's important because that actually created a community of success for those students as well. The fact that they also didn't feel like they were on an island, they're going through a cohort together, and the fact that you were open to feedback on what was not working for them and where they needed more assistance, I think is why you have 100% completion rate. And that's almost unheard of when you're working with this population of individuals that you kind of block and tackled all of those barriers for them. So just an amazing program, and that's why we wanted to highlight it. I can't thank you enough for your time.
can tell we're excited. It's
Yeah.
been really fun. We hope other colleges do the same and other businesses do the same. Happy to help.
Absolutely.
That's a wrap for this episode of Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform to stay updated on all the latest trends and happenings in workforce development. Don't forget to visit our website at sme.org for more resources and information. Until next time, let's continue to build a stronger, more resilient manufacturing workforce together.